Alright, let's talk about the good old Vengeance, the ability that is either way too overpowered or way too underpowered, and there is no in between. So, Vengeance basically what makes Germanicus Germanicus. So, the Vengeance is a bit of a unique ability, and it's the simplest ability ever. It just lets you kill everything in your path. I mean, what else do you need? Well, it's not that simple. You see, it comes with a few caveats. The first caveat is that it has a wind up. Now, in some of the abilities, you might see this wind up duration. Vengeance, while it does not have that, what it does have is when you activate the ability, you get a small boost, and that boost increases over time, and then that increase ends when it reaches its listed values. So 50% melee attack, 50% defense is not what you get as soon as you click it. So this makes things pretty complicated, and we are gonna see how. This means every man is precious, and continuing your vengeance is a lot more important than, well, just about anything. So the person who activates the first vengeance gets the advantage. Now, while that is going on, the fact that vengeance exists and that increases your melee attack and melee damage, like right now at tier 6, my melee attack is plus 70%. This means that focusing on defense will actually give you considerably better advantages, because then it's full power, it's gonna one-shot everything. So this is where the question against formed combat arises. So I have my vengeance activated. Now let's take a look at another technique when it comes to vengeance, is chaining vengeance. So another caveat that comes with vengeance is that it gets deactivated if you are out of combat for more than 10 seconds. Which means as long as you're engaging with any unit, even one man, you can reset that timer. Now, as you remembered from my previous video on heavy infantry, it is very bad to blob up your infantry for various reasons. So I am spreading my infantry and engaging these Macedonians in the back. As you can see, they're doing tremendous amount of damage. With every hit, be scoring a kill. 236, 246, 251, 238, 240. As you can see, they're gradually rising, and every attack animation is a hit, and with the damage increase, it's a kill. So here we can see the tier difference. So in addition to tier difference, however, I also would like to point out what's happening here is not just a tier difference. As you just saw, the damage between them was almost triple in damage. There are a few reasons for that. One is obviously the tier. Two is because my armored legionaries have a lot of defense. I gave them lots of defensive equipment for the aforementioned reason. And more importantly is vengeance actually puts you in a position where formed combat is not the optimal way to fight. The reason for that is when you deactivate formed combat, your men begin to swarm around the enemy unit, allowing more of your men to engage with the enemy. More engagements means more hits, more kills. So you can see me finishing up on these Principes and just looking for new victims to chain my vengeance. So now the best way to also counter the vengeance, as I said, look at your opponent. So when you're playing against vengeance, or a Germanicus, which you will be doing that a lot, what you do is you do not engage an enemy with a vengeance on, because he's just gonna keep racking up and he will just melt your unit. So let's take a look at what happens next. So far I've scored 174 kills, which is okay. I mean, for this situation. Now, the other thing that you should know is that Vengeance, while it does have a long cooldown, it doesn't mean you should be saving your Vengeance. There are two general uses in the ways that you can use Vengeance. Either you save it for a planned engagement, where you know lots of enemy is going to be engaging, or you use it early, and the cooldown still counts when you are still on Vengeance, by the way. So try to activate it early, and that way you can wait for another Vengeance. So it's approximately 3 minutes of cooldown. Now what we just saw right there was one of the advantages of heavy infantry. I had stopped my infantry right before, but I did not even activate the formed combat. And even then, the damage from these 3 tier 6 barbarian cavalry was almost negligible. And now, my men are racking up considerably more damage on them than they have ever did to me. So, that's in general a good thing. So now using our team, we surround the enemy Vercingetorix and wipe them off the battlefield. So with that support, as I mentioned before, do not try to count your contribution simply by kills, because a rightly timed kill can contribute to your victory a lot more than just killing random people. So here we are scouting for the enemy. We see that these legionaries are over here. They are Scipio legionaries. And here you see my heavy infantry coming out. Yeah, with one thing with heavy infantry, you should only go into the forest only when you know that there is that you would be safe. Because look at the opponent; they've got 1, 2, 3 cavalry. It would be a problem if we got backcharged by the cavalry, but I know only one of them are barbarian cav. I saw the rest, and cavalry, heavy cavalry, also gets lots of debuffs in the forest, balancing, making the situation a lot more equal. So the speed situation does not help us in this case. Like in an organized battle, I would suggest us to regroup first and then engage them to prevent our losses. Like what we could have done right now was to just flank the enemy. Like you can see some very bad gameplay over here. 6 units fighting against 1 unit, when you could have been flanking and just could have routed the enemy, but no. So let's see how a proper legionnaire fights. See, you just hit him in the back. Just hit him once, and here I get distracted, and boom! Hit in the back. See, pretty big damage. So you cannot just rely on your mass. You cannot just rely on your charge deflect from the back. You do not get any charge deflect. So there we saw pretty good infiltration, as well as my own mistake. I was distracted over there. So will this unit rout? Nope. The flank debuff expired just in the nick of time, and now this barbarian, he is making a big mistake by trying to engage heavy infantry in melee. You don't do that. Nothing can beat heavy infantry in straight up combat. So now I have used one of my second vengeance simply because I have timed it right. So imagine 2 vengeance. 2 times the vengeance. So let's see how many kills. 330. I think that's pretty good. I mean, considering the circumstances. I mean, it is one metric to measure it and you're rewarded by it. But when it comes to when thinking about the big game, when thinking about victory, kills is definitely not everything. securing proper position, providing vision to your team, scouting the enemy are considerably more important than just scoring kills. Because, and some of you might ask, Ark, why would that be the most important thing? Well, let me tell you why. When you know where the enemy is, when you know what kind of enemy you're fighting, you can predict what they're going to do with their given resources. As such, you can just flank those units and just wipe them off the field. You can be prepared for them, flank them, drop their morale, and done. If you know where the artillery is, your own artillery can shoot them. If you know where the enemy skirmishers are, you know how to react to them. Such as just send the guy with the testudo. And that's how we gain victory.